Hey guys, I think we are live today. We have a lot of new news, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Well, it's quite interesting how fast the news goes. So we have Sheldon Norcross. This is from 1 hour ago. Yeah, June 10th, 1 hour ago. Sheldon is Ben's friend. He previously made a video about Ben's GoFundMe potentially being taken down by the McNeffs. And this is his most recent video that was uploaded 1 hour ago. Hey guys. Yeah, 1 hour ago from when I saw it, we're going to play this video. Then we'll go to CoffeeZilla. I do think the mystery of the Lego figures is solved. So before we begin, let me tell you what I believe happened. This is what I believe. Yeah, double coverage until we can stop, right? Until there are no pressing updates, we're just gonna double coverage it. I think CoffeeZilla figured it out. Let me repeat this again. I think CoffeeZilla figured it out. The amount was never $200,000. So the $200,000 Lego figure was never accurate. It was an estimation by Crystal. It was not a realistic number. The realistic number was 107, or, depending on how you calculate it, maybe more, maybe less, but it was never anywhere close to the $200,000 amount. It wasn't stolen by Lego thieves. It wasn't stolen by, maybe $200,000 was a dream price. $200,000 was the marketing price they used to get people to come visit the store. Okay. So that explains where a lot of the money has gone. It just simply never existed beforehand. No, I've been as tough on Crystal as anyone online. In terms of any content creator, I've questioned her business savvy. I question why the inventory was not updated monthly, quarterly, or whatever. I question various components of running a business. Having run a Lego business myself, Lego Magic Pokémon business, Funko, yes, I can tell you that some of the things Crystal was doing to run a business come at odds with how I personally ran my own business. So there could have been inventory mistakes. There could have been connection mistakes, or not connection, inventory mistakes, accounting mistakes may have been made, and things of this nature. Now, I want to let you guys know, it's okay to make those mistakes as a store as long as you eventually do right by customer, and Crystal was never given that chance because the store was taken from her just kind of out of the blue. A guy came in who used to be who you thought was a customer, came in, took over the store, ran you out of town, right? Yeah, D+ student primetime streams. So I think if we want to be neutral and fair, we have to look at how people react when things go wrong. So Crystal reacts with honesty and the truth, and Bam reacts with lies. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I had from CoffeeZilla. Shit can hit the fan. You're literally running a collectible store. Shit hits the fan every day. You don't have time every day to do inventory updates. You don't have time every day to print receipts from your POS, right? Thank you, Goosey. Running a store of this nature is very difficult to do because of the inventory and all that stuff. So mistakes were made on Crystal's side, on accounting, on inventory management. At least those two things, I think we can all admit, and Crystal herself will admit she could have done a better job with accounting and inventory management. But when you're dealing with Legos, inventory management is massively important, right? Especially if you're doing consignment, if that is what you're choosing to do. But Crystal admits that she made a mistake, and I think overall Crystal is accountable. Yes, that's the word I would say. Crystal is accountable as opposed to The McNeffs. The McNeffs were caught lying multiple times. Both of them. I have more sympathy for Matthew McNeff. I believe maybe Matthew McNeff maybe did not know what was going on. But Eamon McNeff, absolutely. That is correct. Yes, according to CoffeeZilla's accounting and the accounting that people have done on Discord, yes, Brian hadn't been paid for 3 months. He was supposed to be paid monthly, and 3 months later, he still hadn't been paid for what he was doing. Yeah, Matt was literally... We'll watch all this stuff, yeah. So let's continue on with Sheldon. I've not watched this yet, so I don't know what Sheldon's going to say. But let's go here.
This is an update. So Ben found a way to get the GoFundMe back up. They tried getting it taken down, but since he no longer mentions them, they can't do it anymore. So that's good. What I want to touch on is part 3. I know, had it come out, I think, in my opinion, the court case would have got thrown out. And I think that's why they scrambled to get this done, because they realized, they're caught lying. And we have just definitive proof of that. This is probably going to be my last video. It's not going to be super long, but I think violating anyone's freedom of speech is wrong. But I think, this is the equivalent of...
I think, my perspective is Crystal long-term. Oh, thank you, Hot Meat Flaps. Crystal long-term honestly did want to make it right. They just didn't give her the time to do so. So again, that's why she was panicking and printing all those receipts, because at the time she was getting kicked out, she knew that hey, we owe Brian a shit ton of money. So she wasn't trying to hide that they owned Brian money, right?
Saying Bricks and Minifigs can't sell any more Legos, which would be more fair because they stole Legos. Ben didn't steal anything or lie. So why are we the ones? It's just the same thing. It's like, why are the people who are doing the good thing being punished? And it comes down to the same reason Epstein got away with it for as long as he did. It's money. And that's the unfortunate truth. They have way more money and resources than we do.
So, Colin, yeah, that might actually be it. That she was going to sell the store to corporate, get a payout, and then use that payout to make Brian whole. I would actually trust her to do that. I don't think she was running away. I don't think... So Crystal in the CoffeeZilla documentary was incredibly honest. Good, bad, everything else. She didn't deny or lie anything that I could tell. But in terms of the McNeffs, specifically Eamon McNeff, that dude got caught lying half a dozen times. Now, Matthew McNeff, there might be a version, and we're never going to know this, right? We will never know this. There might be a version where Eamon doesn't tell his brother Matthew everything that is going on, and Matthew. So I'm. This is where I believe. I believe that accounting mistakes and inventory mistakes were made, but had Crystal been given time, she would have corrected those mistakes, and she's been honest. This entire time, right? Now, again, why did she miss the payments to Brian? It's probably because they got lazy about it. So, having owned a store, I'm not updating my inventory every single day, right? Especially, Magic singles, okay? Which would be their version of Minifigs. I'm not updating this all the time, but I should be updating it at least once a month or once a week, right? Oh, thank you, Billy. Billy's back. Shout out to Billy's store in Ohio. It's fascinating to me that businesses cost $150K that has a 70% margin, yeah? On most products couldn't come up with $50K to just buy the collection outright at the standard buy rate. Why consign? Yes. So Billy has an independently owned Lego store, and they will offer you 70 to 80% cash, no consignment. So I agree. None of this really makes much sense from a corporate stance, in my opinion. Because, like, corporate to corporate, like, this money isn't big money. This is a very small amount of money. And in fact, when Matt, yeah, it's always good to see Billy can offer us insight. So he's in the Lego reselling business today, right? So he probably was selling Legos just before he joined our chat. My main question to, like, corporate is, like, and Matt actually, when Matt started crying almost, because I think it dawned upon Matt, like, hey, we could have solved this problem. We could have solved the problem exactly with CoffeeZilla right now. We could have just worked out. We could have had a Zoom call with Crystal, look at her inventory, look at our inventory, do exactly what CoffeeZilla did. So they could have hired CoffeeZilla as the intermediate, and then they would have come out with a number that's 50 to 80,000, and then they would have paid it, right?
But in this case, we have everyone on our side. So I don't understand, I guess, how saying Ben isn't allowed to post part 3, which they needed to get that done. If part 3 had come out, they were screwed. You know, I've, as I've said in other videos, I've been there for their lies. Like, they're 100,000% lying. Amana's just a liar. You guys have seen the body cam footage. You know, Josh lies. These guys are just liars because they got caught, you know, taking these Legos. You know, CoffeeZilla's video just dropped.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we just had a U-Haul. And then you can see it in the background and shit. It's like, and even Coffee.
So Aman will lie about things that are easily provable false. So then you really have to question, okay, so if Aman's willing to lie about a U-Haul, like, what else has he been lying about?
CoffeeZilla's like, he's basically like, yeah, like, it seems like they should have just given him back.
Yeah, so it goes like, Coffee's like, hey, they're saying there was a U-Haul that night. Brandon had a U-Haul. Aman's like, nah, he never had a U-Haul. Show picture of the U-Haul to Aman. All right, but that U-Haul had nothing to do with this scenario. That was for another store. So, like, Aman, like, this is the type of like really simple to prove lies that Aman constantly finds himself in the center of, where there's literally like a picture and they show the picture and then suddenly there is a U-Haul now when previously there was no Oh, Boba Fett, yeah, good work, Boba Fett. Crystal logged things layaway that have no other items that had partial payments. I disagree, they were just mistakes. There are far too many. Yeah, so we'll get to the layaway part. That's very interesting. Actually, we were talking about the layaway earlier this morning, that, like, it's kind of weird, right? You're doing consignment on layaway, like, you know, it's there. I don't doubt that the books were not clean, right? But I think there's two ways to look at this. Hey, I made a mistake. There were things I shouldn't have done. There was things I didn't understand. I'm a new business owner. Yes, there was a lot more layaways than anyone's ever talked about, right? And yes, I think we can all agree that Crystal's books were very strange. I think it's an honest mistake, but could you make the argument that she intentionally did it? I don't know. I mean, yes, the books were very bad. Crystal herself will say that.
So yeah, it's just, you know, there's no investigator that's going to find them not guilty. And I think any competent lawyer is going to be able to prove that they did this. And I don't even understand how they think taking us to court is going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work in their favor, man. You know, I think silencing Ben is like some kind of like, I guess, sin. I guess you could say it's something like wrong. Like, Ben is not the type of person who should ever be legally silenced. I don't think anyone should be, but above all that, Ben shouldn't be. And, you know, it'll be us next, you know? And it's like, I bet you they're taking this giant sigh of relief that he can't post part 3, because I'm telling you, part 3, it was over for him, you know, once that dropped. Once part 3 came out, it was over. You know what I mean? It was game over for Bricks and Minifigs. If it wasn't already, you know what I mean? They just, we have all the proof that they lied. So, I mean, it's whatever. You know, we'll see that in court. I'm not really that worried about it. Maybe I've said some kind of not the greatest, like, I guess, smartest things in my videos. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? This is a video, bro. You know, give back the Legos. You know, it seems like they're trying to take Brian out, but then they're just going to, like, triple focus on us once he's out, which is fine.
Can you guess how much money they sued Brian for? It's going to blow your mind, guys. Yeah, so Billy says Crystal is shady, Ben made mistakes, and BAM Corp thought they could get away. This will be studied for years on how not to handle a business crisis. Anyone want to open a Refresh Toys franchise? I believe Refresh Toys is Billy's toy things. He's doing well. They're suing this dude for No problem, Alex. I wanted to do this for myself. You know, I see these other live streamers and they can do 6 to 8 hours. So I wonder, like, if can I do 1.3 million, guys. They're suing Brian Menzel for $1.3 million. So they immediately stole his everyone rest up. Alex is very busy making videos for us, the 9 a.m. video. They stole the guy's Lego. They tried to steal his GoFundMe for $500,000. And now they're suing him for $1.3 million. So yeah, I've seen streamers do much longer than this. So I'm doing this for myself. I kind of want to, like, see how far we can go as, like, a channel.
It's fine. You know, I said that in the beginning. I'm like, you know, sue us, that's fine. Leave Brian out of it. So hopefully that's what ends up happening, and hopefully Ben gets ungagged. But they know if they lose that gag order, they've lost, because we prove all their lies in part 3. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so that is Sheldon, who's Ben's, like, really good friend. Now we'll go to CoffeeZilla. We have this guideline, so I'm going to take you to the guideline, then we'll watch CoffeeZilla. So McNeff's point the finger at the Gormans point the finger at McNeff's. This doesn't really involve Reckless Ben. They actually say it has almost nothing to do with Reckless Ben could not have stolen the Legos, of course, right? So CoffeeZilla is just trying to find out who stole the Legos. Now, there were side dealings that no one's heard of. So a YouTuber actually bought $18,000 of the best. Like, remember when I was saying, like, how can Crystal not sell these amazing Legos? You know, I'm drooling at these Legos. Well, because some of them, the best of the Lego sets, got sold on the side to YouTubers, or to a YouTuber. Let me repeat this again. There's layaway, there's a lot of things that we didn't actually quite understand until you get both sides and you crunch the numbers. One thing that I didn't really realize was that, yes, Lego YouTubers took a giant... Remember, my initial confusion was, hey, you have all these amazing vintage Legos. How come you couldn't sell them? Right? These Legos are part of a Guinness Book record. How, like, the side deal, they sold the best Legos. Like, let me tell you something about YouTubers. They cherry pick. So if you've ever sold a Pokemon collection, they pick the 10 best Pokemon cards you have, and then they take everything. You never sell a collection this way because it's going to get cherry picked. So all the most rare and most valuable, everything's going to get bought out, right? So again, yeah, that's another question. Where are the layaway Legos now? No one knows. These are all questions that we now have and we can explore. So the more we dig into it, the weirder this whole thing gets, to be quite frank with you. The way that the business were operated by Crystal, there's a lot more complications.
My name is AM.
There's a lot more complications than we know. Okay? And these complications are like there's layaway, there's YouTubers cherry picking sets. Like, if you've ever sold your Pokemon or Magic or Funko collection, you know what I'm talking about, cherry picking. And you know YouTubers do it all the fucking time, right? Where you have a Pokemon collection, it's worth $10,000. The YouTuber is going to pick $2,000 of the best cards, and suddenly you can't sell the rest of the $8,000 collection because the Charizards, the Pikachu, they're all gone. That sounds like what really happened. To me, that sounds like what happened here. Well, let's just listen to CoffeeZilla, so let's continue on.
AM McNeff. I am the CEO of the Bricks and Minifigs brand.
So my name's Matt McNeff. I'm the COO of Bricks and Minifigs.
The people you just saw are the
So notice they're in different rooms.
McNeff brothers. They agreed to speak with me to try to clear their name. I asked them, do they have the Legos?
What I can tell you is that we don't have it. We've never had access to them.
It seems to kind of go missing. Parts of it seem to go missing on November 14th.
Well, and I guess that, no.
Oh, Laughable Larry. Thank you to $5. With all the evidence to get banned stacking up, I honestly can't see how even the best lawyer could wriggle out a win for them. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but O.J. Simpson was actually innocent. A jury of his peers decided O.J. was innocent. Johnny Cochran is one hell of a lawyer. Every law student studies Johnny Cochran. With a bad judge, a bad jury, or a really kick-ass attorney, right? You can win a case you shouldn't have won. OJ literally, he was in his white Bronco, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm guilty. Tell them I'm guilty." And then and Johnny Cochran, "Oh, that's not admissible." And the prosecutor, I guess. Oh, right. So this judge is barely a year old. He's a year and a month old from being a judge. Okay? So we don't have the most experienced judge in the world here. So could you say that we have a bad judge? I think so. I think this judge overreached. I think this judge is not... I think this judge is very... if one side has all these killer lawyers, the other side just has Ben, and you have a judge who's only been a judge for 1 year, that's not a good scenario, right? You can understand and probably think that, okay, even if Ben is innocent, it's a stacked deck. Both the lawyer is very, very good, and the judge is very new, so possibly easily swayed by the very old, very experienced lawyer. Okay, I think that's maybe what's happening right now.
No, not at all. I'm going to say, that is not accurate at all. Because...
So you think that the collection was in the store at the time or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. When you look at Mansell's own words that he reiterated to a podcast last year, he explicitly stated to another podcaster, the sets were moved off-site for security.
The collection will not be stored on-site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
Now, one thing that's been a big subject of the Bricks and Minifigs kind of story is, hey, there are these off-site locations. Can you address what that is? Is that true?
So the off-site location and the letter that that corporate is referring to is the original press release that we released when we were launching the collection. In that press release, because we had previous break-ins, I specifically included the location that after this weekend, those Legos would be stored off-site to deter any future thefts. They were briefly stored off-site.
So Ben cannot have stolen the Legos. Ben absolutely didn't steal the Legos. Now, one theory is thieves stole the Legos, and only Crystal would know this, and Crystal's saying no. No Legos from Brian's collection were ever stolen. So we've eliminated two different sources already from the very get-go of possibilities.
After that launch weekend, while I bought safes for the back room, and then they were moved back into the store.
Okay, so for most of the time, the sets were in the store after y'all got the safes in.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ammon McNeff suspects that a lot of the Legos weren't there that night. And then on the other hand, we just heard from Crystal and Ben Gorman explaining the off-site story, saying that later they no longer use those off-site locations. But what do we really know about the Gormans? They are the former franchise owners after all. I mean, Shouldn't we be suspicious of everyone? They're one of our key suspects. They were there the night we lost Brian's collection. They were the creators of the consignment deal after all. And one group in particular is pointing their finger at them very hard. It's the McNeffs, who say they were behind on payments.
We started getting calls from the landlord letting us know that Crystal was behind on the lease payments at the location. We had also gotten a couple of notices from some of our vendor partners that bills had not been paid by the store. And so we felt pretty strongly that there was going to be a risk of her just, like attempting to file bankruptcy, doing some of these other types of things which we've had franchisees do in the past, and that's problematic. So that's why we sent him up there to take some video footage. So we needed to just be prepared if we needed to do a hostile takeover, which, can happen in franchising where a franchise owner just, kind of tries to steal inventory and do some different things that way.
Okay, so Bricks and Minifigs' story is that they were worried about the Gormans skipping town, so they sent Brandon Best as a secret shopper on October 24th.
Okay, so this is new information that we didn't have before. So Brandon Best was actually there 2 weeks earlier, or sometime earlier, as a secret shopper, and he was like recording the inventory. And then he had to report back to corporate. So this time, Brandon is not the owner of this, Crystal is, and he's reporting back to corporate of what he sees from an inventory standpoint.
2024. This is weeks before the takeover. Brandon takes a video of the store condition in preparation for this handover, but at this point, Brandon does not announce himself to Crystal Gorman. Later, though, on November 14th, once again, the same concern about the Gorman stealing or theft was expressed by the McNeffs.
Brandon was trying to make sure that they weren't taking things from the store, and so he was kind of trying to make sure that she wasn't putting things, like hiding things in the back, and that he, while he was watching that, trying to make sure Ben wasn't grabbing stuff from the store and moving or doing anything along those lines, because he just got a weird feeling about the whole transition.
She took at least one, if not more than one, cartfuls of things out to her car with her coat draped over it.
So yeah, the McNeffs say, look, they don't trust the Gormans, and they explained it, even further. They said, hey, there's some issues in her past.
She apparently has a retail theft.
So we were the first people to report on this. People said I was victim blaming, yada yada. I just wanted to bring in evidence that was public. So this is public. Crystal does have a criminal record. Do you think Amon has done Bam? Yeah, no, he's destroyed Bam. A great disservice by going on. Yes, this guy cannot shut up, because every time he says something, it turns out to be false. I feel like he should have just kept his mouth shut and not. That would have been the smart thing to do. Now, the criminal record was when Crystal was 19 and pregnant. So keep that in mind. She is now 45. Okay? Does it matter? It depends on who you ask, right? You've asked the McNeffs, yes, it matters, and they didn't know. If you ask Crystal, it doesn't matter, and the McNeffs knew. So let's hear what happened here.
And other criminal arrests on her record that we were not aware of.
When was that?
I don't know. This has been brought out by several people online now.
Now look, that's a huge accusation to bring up, and so obviously I wanted to talk to the Gormans about it.
They're like, she has a history of some type of burglary, theft.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're
Wow. Oh. Well, yes.
Well,
you know about this.
Explain.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old.
saying. How long ago is that?
I am 45 now. So this was in 1999. This, something that happened 25 years ago, has no reflection and no bearing on...
Yeah, so if she was 17, it would have been expunged. It would have been sealed and expunged, but she turned 19, and she was pregnant. So I wonder, again, she's 19, she's pregnant. Yeah, it's a very different, scenario, right?
What happened in the last 2 years, my management of the store, what happened the night corporate seized the store, it is another deflection. And it infuriates me. You're gonna try to publicly embarrass and shame me for somebody that was manipulated by local police departments when she was pregnant and 19.
So she's claiming that it was police manipulation, that she was actually innocent and the police manipulated her, and she was 19 and pregnant, and she was forced, I guess, to accept guilt, maybe a guilty plea or something like that.
19 years old? F you. That's my response to that. I am so sorry. You're gonna have to blur and cut a lot of this, but that pisses me off. I own what I have done. I own the mistakes that I have made. You cannot intimidate and bully me into backing down when I know that legally and morally I am in the right and I have the evidence to back it up.
Wow, this is getting kind of nasty and personal at this point, and I just wanted to give people kind of their side. But at every turn, I hope you understand, I'm getting contradictory stories, down to if the McNeffs knew about her history in the first place.
Like, they're bringing up something that I told them about.
Wait, you told them?
Told them. They asked me.
They said they had no idea. They said if we knew, we would have never hired her.
Because we would not have hired her had we known this.
I told them I had a record from when I was 18. There was a family issue that, and didn't go into all of the details, but they were like, that's so long ago, we're gonna hire you based on who you are now.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. You guys can make up your own mind. My point is, one side says up.
Yes, but it actually is, as CoffeeZilla himself said, you know, like, the reason I brought it up, because it needs to be brought up, guys, right? We actually do have the criminal record. I have the criminal record. That's how I felt confident stating that she did have a history when she was younger. 18, 19, she gets very defensive. Okay, does this have anything to do with the Legos? No. But some people will, you know,
Says up, the other says down, and it gets to the point both sides start hinting that they have photographic proof from the night of November 14th that prove
this is what they should have done from the very beginning. You show me your photos, I show you my photos. Then we compare the photos, and then if you have any questions about where this went, where that went, right, then we can talk about that. But it never got to that point.
proves the other side is lying. And so I'm like, look, at this point, let's stop talking. Show me the Legos.
Where I was told we are 100% have possession of photos that prove that the Gormans are lying. And then you guys are telling me we 100% have possession of photos that prove this side's lying. Who's gonna drop the photos first? I mean, I feel like someone just has to, somebody's right here.
After a lot of convincing, both sides agreed to show me the photos, corporate and the Gormans. In fact, I scheduled the calls to do this an hour apart from each other. But let's remember their positions for a second. The Gormans say whatever was left unsold of Brian's collection that was in that store spreadsheet was in Salem store the night of November 14th. Then you have corporate side. They say whatever was left that night was maybe $2,000 to $5,000 of Legos. The rest was either stolen by thieves, the Gormans, or held off site. It was not in that store. And on both sides...
Okay, full pause here. Like, if you have a public record, it is public. It's public for a reason. There are crimes that people can do that are expunged or sealed. This record, which I've looked at myself, is not either expunged or sealed. You can look up anyone's criminal record if you wanted to. If you did a simple background check, right, it would come up. It would be the first thing that would come up. So, like, again, whether or not you like it or not, typically speaking, a background check will be done on you, right? It's not private, guys. Stop saying it's private. It is not private, guys.
There's a lot to lose here, right? You've got the Gormans, who basically have been insinuated to have been stealing. And for Josh and Brandon, too, the new franchise owners, there's a lot on the line. I reached out to Josh, and he told me, I think her pictures would only show a few sets and minifigs. I replied, so if I can prove that the Lego sets were in the store, that will prove Brandon was lying? Josh replies, if it shows something different, then yes, I will eat my words. So the stakes have been established. And let's see the evidence, starting with Matt McNeff. First, he showed me the video, October 24, 2024, for a baseline of how the store looked.
So this is the Salem Kaiser location, is that correct?
Salem Kaiser location, yes.
So is it fair to say I'm seeing quite a few Legos here? I mean, I'm seeing a store of Legos. You'd agree?
There's a good amount of Lego on hand.
So this is Matt McNeff, right? This is Matt McNeff, right? Who is the COO. And you can see he's not in the same room as Amin McNeff. So you're going to see that his reaction is going to be very different than Amin McNeff, right?
This isn't what I would say is a well-stocked Bricks and Minifigs, but it's not terrible. It's I would say a little below average as far as overall stock. So now let's go to November 14th. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So November 14th, when Brandon was in there helping.
Wait, this is the day. This is like the big day.
This is the day.
Hold on, I gotta hurt myself emotionally for this.
Okay.
This is a big deal. This is D-Day. This is the big moment. This is Brandon takes over the store. We don't know where the Legos are after this moment.
We don't know where the Legos are after this moment. And I want to point out again that we've had this for a while. We haven't put, this is the first time we've shown this publicly. We've been waiting for our attorneys to give us the approval to say, hey, this is okay now to share.
So this is exclusive content that we didn't know of. A lot of what CoffeeZilla did and has, we've never seen it before. And this is content we haven't seen before.
Capacity. So we'll go through these pictures. This is what Josh saw, or not Josh, sorry, Brandon saw. He took pictures of everything in the store, all the inventory in the store. This is what the shelves look like compared to what you just saw a moment ago.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot less. Just to state the obvious, go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like way less.
So yeah, the pictures I was being shown on November 14th, those shelves looked emptier than they did on the day of October 24th. But to be fair to the Gormans, they addressed the empty shelves themselves.
As we get to the very end of this video in particular, right here, you'll see that empty space right here. So this is the retired and certified set section that we have to keep separate from the new in box current sets being sold by Lego. All those empty spaces up there were the sets that we had on display during the day from Brian's collection that every night when the store closed, we pulled off and put back into the safe.
Okay, so what they're saying is we actually did have Brian's Legos here in store, but we put them back in the safe because it was time to go home. And I can tell you as somebody who's owned, yes, before you go home, you put your singles, your most valuable sealed in a safe. So for me, this checks out. This makes perfect sense to me. Brian's Legos are probably, I mean, he's got Cloud City, right, at $10,000. So, like, for a Lego set like Cloud City at $10,000, you would, take it from the shelf and put it into your, at least, back storage or into a safe. So I think this makes sense. So Matt's argument is, look at this. There's nothing here. There's no Lego sets here on the day that we sent him to look at it. But if it was nighttime, which I believe it was very late at night, you would remove you would start removing, if not remove, all your most valuable sets, and then start putting them in the back room. This is what I did every single day. So what Crystal's saying here is true. Everyone, yeah, it's horns. He's got horns. Okay, guys. What Crystal's saying here isn't abnormal. The accounting is abnormal. The inventory count is abnormal. The way they're doing certain things is weird. But this, what she's saying here, I can confirm. Every single store does this. You put your most valuable items in a safe when it's time to go home at night.
The safe and then put back out in the morning.
So when they say, see, there's empty space on the shelves, yeah, because we put them in safes at night to keep them safe.
Because we have giant windows.
Yeah, it's an explanation that kind of makes sense given the history of burglary. Now, of course, this is something I had to ask the McNeffs about.
Is this a case of, did y'all see Star Wars sets in the back? Did y'all not see the Star Wars sets in the back? Did he take, not in the back, but specifically in a safe? Like there were a bunch of Star Wars sets in a safe. Did Brandon see those? Has there been talk of those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. My understanding is that he took pictures of everything, and all those photos I showed you of the Star Wars were all the photos, or was literally all the Star Wars inventory in the store.
Yeah, the McNeffs say all of the photos should be with Brandon of all the Star Wars items. And to be fair to them, they showed me a lot more pictures and even showed me a spreadsheet of all the Star Wars sets in the store the night Brandon took it over. And it
So this is where Boba Fett and Colin have been working on the same spreadsheets. There are 3 different spreadsheets. And they're not, like, they have to, like, I think, Colin was telling me it took 50 hours to get, like, a whole, like, actual numbers, like, crunched. So I'm not an accountant. I don't know what's happening. I'm just being told, and I believe the people telling me so, one of them being CoffeeZilla, and the Discord team of Colin and Boba Fett. Colin, at least, has talked to CoffeeZilla, like, texted CoffeeZilla, some type of messaging app. And he has all that evidence as well.
It valued to about like $5,000 to $10,000 or so. But then I had to ask.
Sorry, here's another kind of set.
Okay.
Do you think...
So this is very important. So when you look at the sets that they recorded, corporate valued the sets at $5,000 to $10,000. But there could have been a bunch of sets in the safe they didn't actually value. Because Matt has never seen this. Watch this. This is crazy.
Think y'all have all of these?
Very likely.
Okay.
Again, I'd be surprised if we didn't.
But then I couldn't help myself. I started to bring up some of Crystal's photos to see if they matched up.
Have you seen this before?
Not that I recall.
So, do you see that?
Yep.
So do you see it's in like some kind of like a safe thing? I don't know if you can see the sides there.
Looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
It's a safe. It's a safe.
I think the important thing is making sure that all of these are in the inventory 4-man cell.
Sure. Sure. That's cool.
75041.
So Matt is not like Amon would just deny, lie. Matt seems to be like a reasonable human being, right? Okay, sure, okay, that makes sense. And when they actually start working on the sheet, Matt realizes something's off. And he basically admits, okay?
Yep. The Vulture Droid.
75169.
Oh.
169 I'm not seeing, so there...
So he's honest. He's like, okay, no. We don't have that on the Brian Menzel. So he's realizing that something is wrong here. So again, Matt, I think, is more honest than Amon. But like, how much? Again, is he pretending? We can all argue this, but he looks genuinely surprised. It is not in the spreadsheet, which means the spreadsheet is not correct. So let me repeat this again. This is very interesting. Could there be a bunch of Legos in the safe that Brandon never took pictures of because he never had access to the safe? And Brandon himself stole the Legos, or Amon told him to steal the Legos, or corporate told him to steal the Legos, and they were never accounted for and put onto the sheet that Bam has that Matt is now talking about. Because Matt says, Coffee says, do you have this one? And within 2 sets, he's like, nope. And he looks genuinely surprised. He looks very surprised.
So there may be... Okay, so there's one that is not on our list.
So again, he's like, oh, there's one that is not on our list. It may be, okay?
Let's try this. 10240?
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
What about...
Nope, not seeing that one either.
9493.
3. I don't see that one either. So...
I don't see that one either. So once he's realized this, he's gone 3 sets in a row, and he's like, okay, hold on. My data's not correct. Laughable Larry, thank you for the $5. The lesson from all of this is if Ben approaches you and says we can do it the easy... Yes, correct, yes. Ben said we can do this. This is the easy way. What CoffeeZilla is doing is the easy way. Or the hard way. Yeah, we just do it the easy way. Absolutely. So what CoffeeZilla is doing is the easy way. Okay? This is what they should have done from the very beginning. Corporate and Crystal, and maybe even Brian could be there. But Brian doesn't even... to be honest, Brian doesn't even need to be there. Okay? It just needs to be Corporate and Crystal figuring out, okay, my spreadsheet is not matching your spreadsheet. Is there a reason? Oh, yeah, because Brandon didn't take photos or inventory what was in our safe. Oh, I didn't know you had a safe. Cool. Can you give us those numbers? Okay? So, again, this would have been a very easy to solve problem had they did mediation with CoffeeZilla from the very get-go. Here's Matt in real time realizing what happened. So Matt, like, he won't lie to you. At least, well, we didn't catch him lying to you, right? But, like, in real time, Matt realizes what happened. There must have been a bunch of Legos in the back room. Yeah, the most expensive stuff. Like, again, we're talking, yes. You would put the most, so the $5,000 to $10,000 of Legos they found are all the cheap stuff. All the expensive stuff is in the safe. And that's why the calculation is so off. Like, it makes perfect sense what CoffeeZilla is saying. The calculation is off because Crystal took all the expensive Legos, put it in the safe, and Brandon never took a picture of any of that, but Crystal did. So, that's actually a really logical explanation of what's going on here and why there's such a big difference, right? Now, does Brandon put it in a... Where are those Legos today? We'll find out.
Maybe those were locked at the time, and Brandon did not get those pictures.
All right, that's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store. I definitely knew looking at these photos, there's a lot more Legos in the Gormans photos by quite a lot that Brandon's photos just didn't show. But corporate didn't really see it that way.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking, again, 10 times the amount of sets here.
I don't know. I haven't shown all the photos yet. I don't know exactly how much.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you, it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little too in my head about this U-Haul story. You don't think it could have been some U-Haul thing? There's no way.
Oh, yeah, have we talked about the U-Haul yet? We got to talk about the U-Haul for a second. This is another one of those things that was like really disputed between the two parties, was this U-Haul that supposedly was driven up to the store the night of the takeover.
So when Brandon came to the store that night, he was driving a U-Haul truck.
Now, in typical fashion, this was immediately disputed.
Brandon showed up.
Yeah, simple statement. Brandon was driving a U-Haul truck. No, he was not.
Up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
It wasn't until after he told me he was
He literally says, no U-Haul, rental car.
taking the keys and locking me out that I really kind of paid attention to the fact that he had a large, not the small, the large U-Haul truck.
So yeah, I just kept hearing about this U-Haul truck. Now, why is it significant, U-Haul or not? Well, one, a U-Haul truck can fit a lot of Legos, but
Yeah.
the big reason it mattered to me was because I was actually called by an ex-employee of the Bricks and Minifigs store in Eugene, Oregon.
Here's where it gets very interesting. Eugene, Oregon's Bricks and Minifigs store, so we're in Salem, Oregon now, is owned by Brandon. So, does it make sense that Brandon would just rent a U-Haul, take all the Legos in the back room that were not accounted for, and move them to his Eugene store to resell? Corporate will get involved a little later. This makes a lot of sense to me. No, they don't even need to trace it. The U-Haul did go to Brandon's store in Eugene. So they admit that.
Remember, that's the one that Brandon and Josh owned, and he told me something very interesting.
I'm a former employee, started in 2024, and I was working under the old manager Brian, and sold the store to Brandon Best and Josh.
What store was
Yes, this is a Eugene store. A different store.
this? Bricks and Minifigs, where?
Eugene.
Okay, now what did you see that made you want to talk to me?
I saw Reckless Ben's YouTube video about the sales for closing down because when I was talking to my employed co-workers about the situation of Salem, and we were told through other employees that it was just a bad area to work in. It was like haunted, if you will, if it was going around. But after seeing the video of Reckless Ben, he exposed them, and it makes a lot more sense with what we dealt with Brandon and Josh. Like, Crystal stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us when he was dropping off all the Lego sets to us that night. He used, like, there was a bunch of used Lego sets that were like saran wrap. They had Star Wars CD. They used a lot of stuff. It was like a medium-sized U-Haul truck.
Wait, they brought a U-Haul truck
Yeah, from Salem to Eugene.
and to Eugene, and it had a bunch of Star Wars sets on it?
Yeah, Star Wars set.
There you go. So again, according to this employee, the Star Wars sets went from Salem to Eugene, which is Brandon's second store. And this would explain why. So there's some Star Wars on layaway. There's some Star Wars on in the safe. There's some Star Wars collection in the store. But this would explain why a large chunk of Brian's Star Wars sets are missing, because they got put into a U-Haul and then moved to Brandon's second store, according to this employee of the Eugene store.
Sets, like everything. They used a bunch of used stuff too.
Wait, when and was this when they took over the store from Crystal?
I believe so, yes. Yes, because he said that Crystal stole Legos and left the country.
While he has a U-Haul of Legos?
Yeah.
Interesting. Weird.
And he said, we're just going to hold on to this stuff until corporate tells us where we have to distribute it.
So here's the interesting part. So you could view it as Brandon acting independently, or Josh, right, helping their other store in Eugene. But he says something very interesting, and this changes the whole dynamic. He's saying corporate, which is Amon and Matt, are going to tell them how to distribute the set. Let's repeat that again. So the truck has gone from Salem to Eugene. They're not going to sell anything until corporate tells them who gets what. And it almost sounds like they have, like, raided a village, and then now the Viking chief wants to, like, give out things to different of his chieftains, right?
Well, it makes more sense if we could take, because we're kind of struggling with, the product we put on the shelves.
Oh my gosh. We really...
So at the same time, the employee's like, oh, like, can we take it? We don't have enough product on the shelves. And they're like, no, just wait for corporate. Corporate will tell us what to do. Of course.
But still, even if this is true, it's pretty weird, and it's one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard, to have a U-Haul thing back to back. One of the times you're picking up Legos, the other time you're not, you're taking a camper. Nevertheless, without more proof, we kind of have to move on to another theory of how to find these missing Lego. This time, let's take the photographs that we have and reconstruct what was in the night on November 14th. Remember, that's the moment we lost the Lego. And this time, we're going to combine it with two more things. First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 and 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory of what was sold or not in order to pay him and keep track of prices. Now, before we piece things together, I need to address something. At the beginning of this story, you saw the social post saying this collection was worth $200,000. That's what everyone knows this story as, the $200,000 Lego collection. But sadly, that post was entirely wrong. In Crystal Gorman's inventory, which has a high and low estimate value of these various Lego items, the real estimated value is about $107,000.
Boom. There you go. Boom. So everyone says it's 200,000, and everyone's trying to find, like, $150,000 of missing Legos. But in reality, again, if you trust CoffeeZilla and you trust our Discord channel, which has exact math and how they're doing this, you're looking at 107,000, which is not 200,000. So there's $93,000 that never existed to begin with. So again, this is the big boom, right? Oh yes, they do show the U-Haul, but I talked about that. I talked about that a little later, so we might go back to the U-Haul. I know you guys like the U-Haul. Oh, let me go back to the U-Haul story, but the big boom is the fact that, yes, indeed, it looks like my neighbors are having, like, a party at, like, Wednesday at, like, 9.
Find the evidence. So I start sifting through these photos I have, right? I realize I have a parking lot photo. I check it. No U-Haul, just a red truck out there.
Photo.
I check another photo where you can see the window, but the problem is it's night outside, so you can't see. And so I'm looking at everything I can, and there's just nothing, And I have this alternate angle. I'm looking at that, and then wait.
He found it.
Zoom in on that photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit, and oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
U-Haul in the parking lot right outside of the store the night of November 14th, 2024. This is something that Matt said he had seen footage of, and it couldn't be true.
And again, I believe I have seen footage from that night that shows clearly out into the parking lot, and there's no U-Haul.
After seeing this, I said, I really have to make a call. And that's when the story changed.
So last night, I talked with Matt
The story changes.
McNeff. I brought up this question of the U-Haul. He told me emphatically there was no U-Haul. Y'all came to me this morning. You said, hey, we looked into it. There actually was a U-Haul there that night. Can you...
Oh, no. Oh, no, there was a U-Haul there that night on the company credit card, nonetheless. The corporate credit card that Brandon used to get his U-Haul. How is Alman McNeff going to explain this away?
So there's actually two different things that are going on here, just to help you understand. And I don't know if you want this particularly not on the record, but we do know of a disgruntled former employee that worked at another location that back on the 24th of October, there was a U-Haul that went to a storage unit in Salem for another previous franchisee, like for a different situation that we had just...
Oh, a completely rogue employee that we had to let go, and we had to take back his Legos. Completely random, in the same location. Like when like dude, like either Matt is like really good at lying, or Amon is like really bad at lying, right? Okay, now let's have him explain the second part.
Had just gone through some things, and he had a previously, like, hey, I have some inventory that I didn't turn over that I was supposed to. It's at this storage location. You guys can come.
Well, what a nice guy. So a previously disgruntled employee, I guess, stole a bunch of Legos, put it in storage, and then on this exact night called to tell Amon, hey, you know what? I have a bunch of these Legos. Do you want to pick them up in a U-Haul? And Amon's like, yeah, man, you're so great. You're so honest and trustworthy. Way to tell us about these Legos that you could have just sold on eBay because you're a previously disgruntled employee.
You guys can come pick it up. And so Brandon was sent on that day to pick up with a U-Haul inventory that then he moved down, but that was October.
Yeah, that very coincidental.
24th.
So when we're talking about this ex-employee, you're saying they are conflating the October 24th event of the U-Haul coming up to Eugene with Legos with some time after November 14th, after the store takeover. Is that correct? Am I understanding that?
Yes.
So this is now kind of a strange story. Corporate is saying there was a U-Haul at the Eugene store dropping off Lego, but that was from a different night, different collection. The CEO says Brandon showed up to Salem on October 24th for his secret shopper job with Crystal, and separately, he also was getting a different collection of Legos that also included Star Wars, and that's what he brought to the Eugene store, and the former employee is...
Yes, and the Legos also included Star Wars. And that's why the former Eugene employee got confused and thought that these Legos, these Star Wars Legos, came from Salem, because how could he know it was a disgruntled employee who, I guess for whatever reason, was not disgruntled anymore and wanted to release, what, $10,000, $20,000 of Legos that he just had in storage. So if you're a disgruntled employee, why didn't you just sell the Legos on eBay, take the cash, and keep it? But no. This disgruntled employee was so generous, so honest, so trustworthy that after, he got fired, he then decided to report himself in for stealing 10 to 15, stealing enough Legos that they needed a U-Haul. Again, this is not like a small amount of Legos that is like this disgruntled employee has. It is enough to warrant the renting of a U-Haul. This is Amon's story. So they didn't have the U-Haul for Crystal's stuff, even though Brandon knew they were going to kick Crystal out that day. They had a U-Haul for a completely unrelated issue with another disgruntled employee who then said, take these Legos. I don't want them no more. They're worthless. And then they showed up in the U-Haul because there were so many Legos. Like, you have to understand, how many Legos can a disgruntled employee steal? Well, the answer turns out to be an entire U-Haul Legos. And this all happened on the same day. Very coincidental. Great for Amin that he has such amazing employees, even though they're quite disgruntled because he fired them, that they would turn over $10,000 to $20,000 of vintage Star Wars Legos, and very coincidental, very strange that a disgruntled employee would do this.
Is remembering. Then, weeks later, on November 14th, Brandon supposedly shows up again with a U-Haul, but
yes.
The reason isn't for hauling Legos.
Brandon flew in to Eugene that night. At midnight. So flew from Utah on the 13th, but landed in Oregon on midnight of the 14th. Went and got a rental truck, and then went and stayed at a trailer that had previously been moved up there in anticipation, meaning a camper trailer, in anticipation of the potential hostile takeover previously.
Is that why he had a U-Haul? Is that the reason he had a U-Haul, was for this camper, or what's going on with the...
Yes. So then what happens is he takes his rental vehicle truck and he tries to connect the trailer, the camping trailer, to that truck.
BBQ Council. Yes, we have a video on that. Don't forget, Amin and Matt sued their father 3 times. I only saw 1 time. And then they dropped the lawsuit after 19 days. We have a lot to cover. In case you guys don't know, I'm going to cover this tomorrow. Shout out to our good friend Bam Sucks. BamSucks.com, I guess is his website. Shout out to our good friend BamSucks.com. He actually has this, which is very interesting. According to these documents, well, I have to review them. I haven't reviewed them at all yet. But according to documents, their father actually owned a BAM Minifigs, and he was so disappointed about not making money. Because, like, look, nobody's making money from this business model, guys. Not even their father can make money. He's like, how do we make money from this thing? So even their father has no idea how to make money from this business model that BAM has. It's really insane. So the story gets even more and more insane. Yeah, if this goes to court, we'll have content for years to come, Laughable Larry. You know, we're doing 2 of these live streams a day now. We did one yesterday, 2 yesterday, and we did one now. Like, it's so crazy that we can't cover any of these other stuff that we cover because you guys enjoy the content so much. But yeah, back to my analysis of this is like Daniel McNeff, who is Amon and Matt's father, in somewhere in these documents, I have to check, but like he owned a BAM minifig store, and he was like, hey, how do we make money from this? And they're like, oh, well, we don't make money from this. And it's like, wait, why did I buy one of these? So there's a very interesting, hilarious exchange between in the legal documents where their dad is asking him, is this a profitable business, Amon's like, nah, we're just hoping break even. Yes, there's PPP funds, there's hostile takeovers, there's all this stuff happened way before Reckless Ben. Way before Reckless Ben. It is like wild when you actually look at I love looking at this stuff because it's, like McNeff. Okay, I know where it is. It's McNeff versus McNeff F. In McNeff versus McNeff, he's trying to figure out, hey, how are we making money? From bricks and minifigs. Are we making money from bricks and minifigs? Oh, okay, we're not. Oh. Legally Mind has lost $5 to $7 million in revenue. So this entire thing, even though the lawsuit was only like a few days, there was a lot of interesting stuff here that we have to review together. This is when they, no, this is not it, is it? The booking, the harassment. Like, there's so much legal stuff I want to go over with you guys, and it's just so much. It's so much stuff, guys. Like, it's very bizarre. They did sue their dad, Daniel McNeff. That's public record. These are the public court documents, and it's some of the most bizarre things you're ever going to see, like, legally. I don't know if it's like MLM. I really don't understand like what's happening, like with their dad. Like it's hard for me to like figure like, cause when you sue your dad, that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal, and especially when you all own the company. So the dad was the owner, he was his president, he was a CEO, and Matt was an executive. So they're all working at the same company together. And then the 2 brothers sue their own dad for what I think is PPP loans. But like, why would these guys need PPP loans? They're CEO, and again, it's very bizarre, very strange behavior, and like, it's the family dynamics are not like, when I think of my dad, and it's not typical of a family when I think about like a family.
Truck and it's not rated for that particular weight, and he realized, oh crap. He called around and found that U-Haul had a rating for one of their box trucks, and so he grabbed that, went and got it at 10 a.m. on the 14th, and so he then went and hooked that trailer up to the camping trailer to a U-Haul, drove that trailer.
So the story is the truck that he had wasn't rated good enough to pull the camper, but a U-Haul was. A U-Haul truck. It's kind of bizarre, right?
Down to another location where he could set up the camping trailer in Salem, dropped off the camping trailer, and then he arrived in a U-Haul to the Salem store, and then went in, said hi to Crystal, and then as she was leaving, the door shuts, and so he locks it, calls the locksmith, takes him a while to finish up the changing of the locks. Brandon at this point is pretty exhausted, so and he has an hour drive back to Eugene to drop off the rental truck. So he drops it off at,
So they don't deny. So the rental truck goes to Crystal's store and then heads to Eugene where Brandon has his other store. So they're not denying that. They don't deny that part at all. They're just denying whether or not the U-Haul truck was used to take the Brian Star Wars figures from Crystal's store to a second store. So they're not denying that on this day, there was a U-Haul truck, and the U-Haul truck did go from Crystal's store to Eugene.
Midnight or 1 o'clock, something like that, grabs the rental truck and then heads back up to the camper trailer in Salem, and then it's probably gets in at around 2 or 3 in the morning, spends a couple of gets that's a little bit of sleep before he has to head back to the store at 9 a.m. before the other employees get there. The timeline that is trying to be portrayed just makes absolutely zero sense.
Okay, so I asked.
Yes, so you're saying it makes no sense, but
obviously, for documentation of all of this from Brandon. And here's what I got. First, the U-Haul contract on
here we go.
14th. This checks out what we already know. Then I got sent a photo. The last one Brandon took in the Salem store, dated 9:44 p.m., where you can see what looks like the inside of a bird cage that the Gormans had. And lastly, I was sent a photo Brandon took of the mileage in the...
Did they really steal the bird cage? Why does Brandon have a photo of the bird cage? Did they steal it?
In the Salem store, dated 9:44 p.m., where you can see what looks like the inside of a bird cage that the Gormans had. And lastly, I was sent a photo Brandon took of the mileage.
You can rent, okay, thank you, Sleepy Noodle. You can rent a pickup from U-Haul for towing. You would never rent a box truck for hauling a camper. Unless, yeah, you can rent a pickup truck, right? That is rated correctly. Thank you for the 5 Canadian Sleepy Noodles. I love Chopper from One Piece. All the Legos are on the Eugene store website. Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that. So, yeah, what happened to the bird? Why is Brandon taking videos of the bird cage? It makes no sense.
Mileage in the U-Haul, as he dropped it back off at the rental place on November 15th, 12:41 a.m. Now, the time gap there is about 3 hours between the last photo in Salem to dropping the U-Haul off, which is a bit of a problem for our timeline.
Yeah, it took like 4 hours. I mean, I worked till like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get up early for, my other job.
You moved 4 hours of Legos out of this truck.
Yeah.
All right, so as weird as this U-Haul thing is, the timeline just doesn't fit, to be honest. If it took 4 hours to unload, you can't also drive to another city, load and unload and drop off the U-Haul in that time. But still, even if this is true, it's pretty weird, and it's one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard, to have a U-Haul thing back to back. One of the times you're picking up Legos, the other time you're not, you're taking a camper. Nevertheless, without more proof, we kind of have to move on to another theory of how to find these missing Lego. This time, let's take the photographs that we...
Yeah, it's a very bizarre story. It's very interesting, but like it doesn't make sense. And there's a period in time where between where the U-Haul is in Eugene, it could have been unloaded. There's like 3 hour gap, even Brandon admits, and then been taken back to the U-Haul rental. So it's not like this guy went straight to the U-Haul rental. He did not do that. There was a period in time, there was a 3 to 4 hour gap where the U-Haul, something happened with I guess Brandon took a nap. I guess the BAM explanation was Brandon took a nap and then he returned it, right? Again, a very bizarre explanation that doesn't make sense time-wise, but that's what they said.
That we have, and reconstruct what was in the night on November 14th. Remember, that's the moment we lost the Lego. And this time, we're going to combine it with 2 more things. First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 to 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory of what was sold or not in order to pay him and keep track of prices. Now, before we piece things together, I need to address something. At the beginning of this story, you saw the social post saying this collection was worth $200,000. That's what everyone knows this story as, the $200,000 Lego collection. But sadly, that post was entirely wrong. In Crystal Gorman's inventory, which has a high and low estimate value of these various Lego items, the real estimated value is about $107,000. They give high estimates and low estimates, but that's right there in the middle. And for simplicity, I'll just be using averages and estimates here, but understand that, these numbers are not firm, given that they're unsold Legos. It's just rough possibilities. But the point is, it's worth nowhere near $200,000. And Reckless Ben, the one who made the original video covering this, said that surprised him.
Yeah, this entire time, literally every single person has been.
Like I said, everyone has been saying it's $200,000. Even Reckless Ben didn't know it was not $200,000. Because that was the amount that was posted on social media. That was the amount being advertised at conventions and things of this nature. Everyone thought it was $200,000, even Reckless Ben.
Person's been telling me there were $200,000. Like, that's how much, you could sell all these sets for.
My original assessment of about $200,000 was going up to his father's house and looking in 3 different rooms with all the sets. It was before I'd actually gone through and had set numbers and done an actual evaluation. I looked at it and went based on as things progressed and as I started to delve more into the actual inventory and evaluating it, that number changed. But we put out the press release well in advance of the event itself, so that press release went out before I had those full numbers. So we went, this is a nice even number that will grab attention and bring people into the store, so we went with that.
Yeah. So again, everyone is now admitting that it's not $200,000, okay? Can we all, admit that it's not $200,000? Ben agrees. Crystal even tells you what happened. The $200,000 estimate came when she went to Brian Menzel's dad's home, and this is tough. This is tough. When you're trying to figure out what things are, and you don't have set numbers, you don't have a list, you're not TCG. For me, when I buy a collection, I might actually be buying Jules' Pokemon collection. We'll see how that goes. But the first thing I told Jules is I need you to put a list together. And we're going to look at the list together. And then from that list, we'll probably make an offer, based on what's... So you can't, say $200,000 and not have a list of the set numbers, how much of them it is, right? I think it really is the point, because if you're trying to find $200,000 of Legos and only $100,000 of Legos... Yeah, her Pokemon card collection is really insane. We're working on this now with Jules. That's half, guys. That's half. So it's a lot easier to find from mathematically. You're never going to find the 200,000 because it never existed. This explains a lot. We can find the 107,000 though. We can find the $107,000 though. Okay? We can find $107,000.
To believe that is accurate at the high end. It was one of those things where when she was looking through and going, well, it says this and it says this, you don't think even at the high end?
You haven't actually seen the spreadsheet.
No, I haven't.
You might want to cut that part out because he hasn't actually seen the inventory sheet.
The spreadsheet says about from between 85,000 to 120 something thousand. In the midpoint, about 106.
That's exactly our spreadsheet, pretty much. So it's between 80 to 120. I think it does matter because if it matters to CoffeeZilla and it matters to me because you're trying to figure out where all the Legos went, right? 10 Legos were 20K was in layaway. 10K was sold, but not marked as such. And YouTubers took 18K. If you want to be accurate, you need to follow the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Everyone can lie. But the numbers don't lie, right?
7 or something like that. Of what was inventory. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has been a really big point of misinformation to clear up, because if we're ever going to find the missing Lego, we need to start with the right number, the right value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If we are to find the missing Legos, which everyone wants to find, everyone wants to give Brian the Legos, we have to start with the right number. Guys, you guys hate me all you want, but CoffeeZilla is the GOAT. He's the GOAT. If you trust anybody on YouTube, it will be CoffeeZilla. He's battling Logan Paul right now to like a legal death match. Guys, again, should be super obvious if you guys weren't so biased and hateful towards me. Right? If you want to figure out what happened, you gotta begin from a place of total honesty. Right? Total honesty. You can't say something is 200,000 when it is 107,000. Because you're never going to find the other 93,000, no matter how hard you look. Right?
It's about $107,000. Now, between 2023 and 2024, the Gormans record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list. And of those sales, Brian was entitled to about 65 to 70% of it. He was paid $17,000, which roughly tracks with that.
So that tracks. These are the same numbers we have. These are the same numbers we have.
Means on November 14th, the big night, the remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize this is a very different number than corporate provided, who found only $2,000 to $5,000 of it linked to Brian. And later they said they only found $13,000 to $15,000 in total Lego Star Wars.
So you're talking maybe $11,000 to $15,000 total Star Wars, and that's all Star Wars inventory in the whole store.
So that's corporate side of the story, but I didn't want to take their word for it. So I went through Crystal's photos myself, which she shared with me, and hired people to go through and hand tag the Star Wars Legos that were in these photos.
Exactly. Everyone, like, 2 plus 2 is equal to 3, right?
We looked through over 200 plus photos, multiple videos, and matched what we saw with Brian's collection. In the end, I ended up with about $21,000 of Legos matching Brian's collection that can be proven to be in the store on the night of November 14th. Now, to state the obvious, that's about 3 to 5 times what corporate estimated, at least on their press release. Now, yes, there are inherent errors.
If Brian went to CoffeeZilla in the beginning instead of Ben, do you think it would still blow up? I think, Ben did some pretty crazy shit, and obviously there's the entire place. So what CoffeeZilla is covering has actually zero to do with Reckless Ben. So had they gone to CoffeeZilla, this is the type of video that would have come up. Ben did some really crazy stuff, guys. Like, legally speaking, you know, CoffeeZilla is just about the math. He's just about the math. And that's why I love CoffeeZilla, because he's neutral. He talks to all the parties. He does the math himself. And at the end of the day, right, Ben is a very different person from CoffeeZilla. I don't think CoffeeZilla would currently be sued right now. I think a lot of Ben's legal problems are you know, would not have existed had CoffeeZilla been the head of this. So if Brian went to CoffeeZilla, the police department, that whole saga, again, this is just the numbers, right? Oh, Potato Raider, yes, we have looked at Legally Mined. We have looked at it. We have a video on this channel, Potato Radio, if you want to give it a look. We were actually one of the first people to look at Legally Mined. So a lot of what we've been doing is we've covered this before anyone else. Even if it takes me until like 10 o'clock to cover this today, which I hope it doesn't, we have covered this harder and more ferociously than anyone else has. So, yes, we covered this. Reckless Ben and Bricks and Minifigs, they sue their dad. So this is when they sue their dad. Where's Legally Mined? Legally Mined was like really, really obvious. I think that we don't talk about Legally Mined here. Bricks and Minifigs. They try to get this teen, 50K. Stores. Oh, maybe it was a live. So in addition to all of our videos, we've been going live at least once a day, every single day. And corrupt police, it costs. Laughable Larry. How soon until Josh accused? Yeah, Josh is not all there, right? Rico, why steal Legos? I don't know where, but we did talk about that case in great length. Oh, they changed the name to Legally Mined OLD Colorado or CO. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I did not know they changed their name. But yeah, we did cover it in a lot of detail. It's very interesting. Did you cover the National Foundation? No, okay, no more comments, guys. We're going to keep going.
In these estimates, maybe we picked up some Lego that matched Brian's collection, but wasn't Brian's. But even though this is a bigger number than corporate said, I have to admit, even with pretty generous assumptions being made, there's still a huge gap of about $61,000 here that
So yes, the total value is 107, 24,000 got sold and was paid. So the store made 7,000 and they paid Brian's dad 17,000. That means $82,000 is missing. There's $21,000 in the store. Where the hell did the $61,000 go? That is the whole CoffeeZilla. This is why this video exists. It doesn't talk about Reckless Ben. It has almost nothing to do with Reckless Ben. Now let's find the 61,000. Let's find the 61,000.
But then I learned Brian had made a special side deal with M&R Productions, who had recently purchased some Legos from him. And this is where it starts to get messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions sent me, looking at the Lego that Brian sold him.
So a big YouTuber buys part of the collection, and you know how these YouTubers are. He's going to cherry pick the collection. That's just how it is, right? If you're going to buy $18,000 of a collection, yes, thank you, Jules is cool. Yeah, we are growing. Oh, hey, M&R Productions. Yeah. So M&R Productions, he is the guy who sent these photos. So can you tell me, did you cherry pick this, or was there like any like sets that you were after? Did you so Brian got paid on this. Okay, so you're wrong on this. Okay, so correct me, just go ahead and we'll wait for we're a little bit behind. I didn't cherry pick anything. So how did you determine what you wanted to buy? So M&R Production says he didn't cherry pick. I believe him. People cherry pick all the time, so it's why did you buy these sets? Was these like a personal collection? How much money did you spend? Can you give us more information? On Brian's PDF list on the Google Drive, there are locations. I'm not sure what that is. Is it the location? So did you just buy everything in storage, or is that how you came across the collection? Storage. Okay, storage. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. He bought all of it on auction to auction on Whatnot and did Black Friday. Okay, so he bought a storage. He paid him $12,600. CoffeeZilla, I guess, is saying that it's $18,000. And then he sold it on, so 12, a little bit more, $12,600. And did you pay Brian directly? Like, did Brian take the money directly? Yeah, that's actually very interesting. So he bought just what was in storage. He didn't cherry pick. He says he had a personal storage with baseball cards and such. My friend personally picked it from him. Okay, yeah, that explains it. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that. Yes. Okay, and he agrees. So he agrees that it is worth about 18 to 20K in value, and that was paid, directly to Brian. Yes, he says I paid him outright. So okay, so that's perfect. So we got an explanation from the direct source on what happened here. He wanted to run a Whatnot Black Friday sale. He needed inventory. He reached out to Brian. Brian sold him around 18K in inventory, and then he was able to pay Brian directly 12.6K of that money. So Brian at least has that 12.6K of that money. So that's the explanation. Non-cherry picked, I'm sorry. But like, yeah, I would assume, you know, people cherry pick all the time. And I know I buy Pokemon collections. I sell Pokemon collections. These things do, Funkos, Legos, these things do get cherry picked. But thank you for that explanation. And yeah, it does put a big chunk on the 60K, because on the sheet it doesn't show up as 12.6 but as 18. So we'll go on. But yeah, thank you for jumping in and sharing your side of the story. That's really good. I cannot remember how I got in touch with Brian to begin with, but yeah, I'll have to ask. But yeah, I think that's all the details. Yeah, I got enough for the personal collection. Okay, so that explains it. Okay, so he wasn't cherry picking for his personal collection, or he thought these sets were better. He was just going to sell on Black Friday on whatnot. So shout out to M&R Productions for jumping in, and yeah, that's a perfect explanation of what happened here.
This was stuff reportedly in storage, and it's interesting because of an early inventory list, which had a column called location.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, this is correct. This is what he's talking about, location. And when people are saying, I'm always willing to be corrected. So, you know, jump in, correct me. You know, again, Crystal had a storage. She had one list called location. Let's just listen to CoffeeZilla.
And it listed a lot of Star Wars items as being located in what they called storage. Now, previously, I was told that all of the stuff in storage was put back in the store, but there's a bunch that's on this list that I can't find in the store that seem to appear in these pictures. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that most of these Legos were not part of the inventory spreadsheet. They were never given to Bricks and Minifigs. This is a separate part of the collection, but I did it.
So M&R Productions said it was Brian storage, not related to anything to Crystal storage. AFAIK. So that's also very interesting.
Check. And 100% of the items that match the Brian collection inventory just so happen to be listed with a location of storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list. Now, if we take that value of the side deal, that's about $10,000 to $20,000 that's not actually missing. Now, is at this point I start.
So again, if you come to the same conclusion CoffeeZilla came to, which I think was fair. He came to this conclusion because he saw the Excel spreadsheet and he's realizing these are the same sets. Then yes, M&R Productions, like stuff Brian never gave to the store because there was a lot of duplicates and he was holding back to give later potentially. Okay, wow. So maybe they were, so there's still some question. There's still some question as to, were these on the list or did Crystal get duplicate? So a duplicate would mean that it wouldn't be marked off because it would be independent from Crystal. But CoffeeZilla marks it off. I guess I'm a little confused. So so maybe it wasn't part of the Crystal deal. Maybe Crystal had her own duplicates of it, which would make sense. I mean, yeah, I think I'm trying to think about from a collector. Yeah, so M&R Productions says they are the ones on the list, but they weren't given to the store. So the reason they have duplicate numbers is Crystal received her own ones in the store. So Coffee may have got that wrong. M&R Productions confirms that. That I think was lost in translation from me to Coffee. So Coffee is taking the value away. M&R Productions saying, no. The value should still be there. And there's 15K more missing. So yeah, okay, I understand what it is now. They're dupes. Which makes sense because he has a massive collection. That's why they're storage. Okay, that makes sense. So CoffeeZilla may have made a mistake here.
Storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list. Now, if we take that value of the side deal, that's about $10,000 to $20,000.
So this chunk here should not be removed. Yeah, so M&R Productions is confirming there's 15 more, no, not 15K more missing. I got them. Okay, so this number is correct or not correct. Should it be removed or not removed? So I'm asking M and R, like, in your opinion, should the number be removed or not removed? So there's 82,000 missing. We're trying to find the 82,000 or the 61,000. 21,000 is in the store. It should be removed. It was never in BAM. That's what I believe, yeah. It was always in BAM's. No. I got confused again. Because, I don't do the nighttime streams. I have a little one. It should be removed. He said it should be removed, but it was never in BAM's possession. Always Brian. So it should be removed from this, but it was always in BAM's it was never in BAM's possession. Always Brian's. Okay. Makes sense. So it's a clarification as to who owned or where it was.
That's not actually missing. Now, it was at this point I started looking more at the point of...
Yeah, it is part of the total value, but the description I had was wrong. Yes, it is part of the total value, correct. No problem. I got it. That makes sense. So yeah, there's 61K missing right now. So we are trying to find 61K now.
Of sales records. I realized maybe we could find some of this missing Lego there too. So this is from the Salem internal store records. Like, I guess this is what is entered when someone does a sale, and it's everything from September 2023 to November 2024 of Star Wars anything. And by the way, before we continue, yes, this was all a lot of work. If you want to, please support us on Patreon. That's how this show gets made. But anyways, according to those records, about $51,000 in sales went through during this time period in a way that matched Brian Mansell's collection. Now, that really worried me because Crystal's inventory list showed only $24,000 in sales for Brian, and Brian was only paid for that amount. But suddenly, I remembered back to a time when I spoke to Crystal, and I asked how much was sold prior to the takeover.
Which is something similar from what you told me, Crystal.
Yeah.
You told me, hey, it was about 50-something thousand.
Yeah.
But Brian was only paid 17,000.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it should have been about double that. And I'm just trying to make sense of that, given that everyone's accusing each other of theft right now. You understand?
I mean, without seeing any of those records, without seeing those individual tickets, I can't answer that any better.
Okay, this is kind of a problem. The math ain't math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe Brian was paid. And digging into the details, it turns out a lot of these sales come from what Crystal's spreadsheet actually categorizes as layaways, meaning...
now we get to a very interesting thing. So we're digging for the money. So, like, you know how, like, they always say follow the money, stupid? Like, in law, if you ever want to figure out, like, who's guilty, who's innocent, you follow the money. The money trail will never lie. The money trail never lies about these things, guys. And now we're going to talk about layaway, which is probably the most bizarre thing of this. Like, when I think layaway, I think of, like, Kmart and stuff, you know?
They were marked as having been sold, but layaways are when someone puts a down payment on an item and later pays it off. But the problem was there were a lot of these, worth about $20,000 in layaway.
Yes.
And that felt a little strange to me.
Yes, that is very strange. Like I said, I think Crystal is a good human being, but she may not be the best businesswoman. You can't lay away consignment because it's not yours. So people are putting deposits on Lego sets that you have on consignment. I don't know what's happening here.
And because of that, I asked Josh Johnson, the incoming owner, and he responded, quote, there were 2 to 3 items on layaway when they took over.
So on the list of that, on the inventory list, do you know about how many?
Yeah, if you're gonna do consignment and you're gonna do layaway, your accounting has to be clean as hell, in my opinion. But yeah, okay. I wouldn't do layaway because the price of these things change. Again, Legos, if it's like anything like Pokemon, a $10 Pokemon card today could be a $50 Pokemon card tomorrow. Same with Magic the Gathering, ban lists, and so on. So if I always, and Legos are the same thing. Doing layaway and guaranteeing a price tomorrow, you couldn't, Pokemon cards, you could not do layaway. You would get killed. You would get killed on layaway. Let me again say, like, in Pokemon cards, Magic cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right? Because there's reprinting. There's a ban list. Suddenly, there's a Pikachu on this card that no one's seen before. And the card goes... Shoo. Yeah, any collectible item, market price is, like, very volatile. So to do layaway is, honest to God, store suicide. Oh, I shouldn't say that word. Stored blankicide. For a collectible item. Right? Because you're paying today's price for something that you have no idea what tomorrow will be. And these prices change a ton. Let me show you about Pokemon, for instance. And that's why I know. But what happens if there's full payment in the point of sale system and it's labeled as layaway? If it's paid in full, yeah, the customer, absolutely. The customer is going to pay in full and then take their, yes, if the customer pays layaway, let's say $20 on a $100 figure, then they pay the $80, then they get to take it away, and now it registers as a sale, not a layaway. So, yeah, I mean, I can show you, like, I can show you so many different things where, and here's the problem with layaway. If the price goes up, you've, store aside yourself. But if the price goes down, the guy's not going to pick it up. So, like, the problem with layaway is very simple. I can explain to you. You have a, so I'd use Lil I don't know. Okay, I'll use this. You have this card. It's worth $100 today. Okay? You put, the customer puts $5 to it. This card now goes down to $50. The customer now has to pay $95 for a $50 card. It's never going to work. So when the Lego sets go down, your layaway, nobody's going to claim the layaway, and it's just sitting there rotting. And instead of selling them, like when, you know, for a good price, it's just sitting there declining in value. If this card goes up, you bet your ass that guy is going to redeem it. If this card goes to $200 and they only have to pay $95 for it, yeah, it's risk-free positioning for $5. No, but I'm saying for cards, so I can't speak about Legos today, but for cards, I assume it's the same for Legos. I mean, that cloud set is a $10,000 cloud set that used to sell for like $100, right? Legos are going to the moon. So like, this is a yeah, it's an options contract, but in favor of the customer, heavily in favor of the customer, right? So I don't know why any store would do it. If the price goes down, they're not going to redeem their layaway. If the price goes up, yes, they're going to redeem the layaway, but you could have sold it for twice as much money, right?
I haven't gone through and done a count, but I know it was vastly more than 2 to 3.
It was about 98.
That makes sense.
So there were
98 sets. 98 sets were on layaway. eBay doesn't allow that anymore. If you don't pay for something you won, eBay just straight bans you right now. So that's eBay's new policy. So how eBay deals with this situation is, if you pay for a card, or if you win a card in auction and you don't pay for it, they just ban you for a year and you can't bid anymore, right?
There were about $15,000 to $25,000 worth of sets on layaway.
So this is a large chunk of money on layaway. So not only do you have consignment, which is not, again, we talked to Billy. Billy doesn't have consignment, right? 98, super legit. Okay, so M&R Productions, who's looked at this, probably knows way more about Lego sets than me, says 98 is super legit.
Okay.
That's just the part that's surprising. That's the part that I can't get my head around. I go, how could, you know, let me just be really honest. I don't believe there was that much layaway. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. How could there be that much layaway? I don't know. It's like I don't.
Dude, coffee is like so like. I mean, this is the same reaction I have. How can there be that much layaway? Right? Like it's weird, right? Like coffee's. like initial reaction is what?
That's just the part that's surprising. That's the part.
No, not legit. Okay, I'm joking. Okay, MR. I was like, oh, well, if MR says 98 on layaway is legit, I guess we gotta take that in consideration, right?
That I can't get my head around. I go, how could, let me just be really honest. I don't believe there was that much layaway. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. How could there be that much layaway? I don't know. It's like I don't believe, because I was talking to some people about bricks and minifigs. They go, yeah, there's some layaway. There's not that much layaway. I talked to people who were neutral, kind of on corporate side, but also people who were just normal bricks and minifigs people. They say there's not that much layaway. Help me understand why there's $20,000 worth of layaway here.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. If you talk to other bricks and minifigs locations, layaway is extremely rare. I think outside of the Brian's collection, I don't.
Okay, good. I'm not crazy here. So then why was there so much layaway there?
No, absolutely not. Outside of Brian's collection, I think at the time we maybe had 2 used sets on layaway outside of his collection. Okay. It was not a common thing traditionally. I don't know that we'd ever done layaway before the collection came in. With Brian's collection, it was a little bit different because so much of this collection were new in box, all in one place, reasonably priced, and a lot of the harder to find items. And so customers would come in and put, I'm gonna guess probably half of those layaway items were not gonna be sold to the person who took them on layaway, because we had several that would put them on layaway and then change their mind. So this was something like,
that's why I wouldn't do layaway. If half the layaways are just kind of like pissing off your time, and you need to sell these Legos for Brian, by putting them on layaway, you can no longer sell them. It would be like, it's one Lego set. So I'm like, my question in the very beginning was, how in the world could Crystal not sell these Lego sets? And like I said, like, a big Lego YouTuber is in chat right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he sold 20K that Black Friday on Whatnot. People sell 20, 30, 40, 50K in sports cards and like, so like what honest to God, what Brian should have done was look for this M&R Productions guy and just say, hey, you got a crazy Whatnot channel. I have the inventory. Can you just sell to me? And it'll be over in what? Like, how fast could you move $107,000 of Legos like this? What, a month? Maybe less? I think this is my question, but if they were on layaway the whole time, then they couldn't be sold. Right? Because they're on layaway, right? So it's so weird. Yeah, M&R Production could have just sold all of these things. Like, probably within, a month or two? Like, I mean, maybe he can tell me what his estimate if he's still in the room. He said Brian didn't know who I was before. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I mean, that would have been a really great way in the future to move these Legos with, like, a Whatnot seller, because they sell so fast. It's auctioned. You're gonna get a payout. Oh, wow, okay. I was thinking 2 months, but M&R Productions said he could have sold all 107 in 2 days. These guys they didn't sell it in a year, 2 years. And 98 of the sets are on layaway? And half the people who are putting stuff on layaway are, So when I saw the collection, I'm like M&R Productions. This thing should sell fast. I don't know exactly how fast because I'm not in the Legos thing, right? But if M&R Productions says he can sell it in 2 days, I believe him. I believe him. So again, this is a year later. That's the part that I really didn't understand. Is like, these are amazing Lego figures. She says they're priced well. So she says they're priced very well, right? 107 2 hours, yeah. Okay, now I don't know. Now M&R Productions is saying that he can sell it in 2 hours. All sets in 2 days. Okay, so yeah, so M&R saying he can do it in 2 days. No problem. I wanted to know the number, and in a little delay, and I got it right. Mother 98 of these sets, and you know what sets are on layaway? The expensive ones, right? So $15,000 to $25,000. Yeah, Ryan's adding so much information that we just didn't have, and we couldn't possibly have, because Ryan is a whatnot seller, and he's doing really good. So if he can sell in 2 days, he could sell in 2 days.
Somebody would come in and want 10 different sets, but only be able to buy one. Can I put the rest of those on layaway so you don't sell them? I'll pay $10 to put these sets on layaway. Traditionally with layaway, we would ask for 10% down. They'd have 30 days to make their next payment, or we'd refund the layaway amount and then put it back on the shelf. Because this collection was the collection it was, and I wanted to give these people the opportunity to, to get these sets, we were a lot more generous with how long and the amount of payments that people could make towards the layaway. So a lot of these, we had several of them. I think one of the Ewok villages, we put on layaway 4 different times, and then it came off of layaway and back.
So some of these Lego sets have been put on layaway 4 different times, and the minimal layaway is 30 days. So, I mean, this is like, again, I don't know. I mean, it's... If you guys have a Lego set either in Ohio, give it to Billy. He's a reseller. He's going to pay 70, 80%. Or give it to Aaron, give it to that guy. He can sell in 2 days for you on whatnot. And you'll get a check. You'll get a check probably in a week.
And back on layaway and then off and then sold. So a lot of these would have gone on and off of layaway and then back out on the shelf.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Okay, let's say there's a $100 set. We put $10 to layaway. $30 we don't, 30 days we don't pick up the layaway. Who keeps the $10? Guys, who's keeping all these layaways that are not being fulfilled? Guys, let's put our heads together. So, half the people who put these sets on layaway don't pick them up. Therefore, the deposit is going somewhere. Is Brian Menzel getting $1 from this layaway scenario? Like, this seems to hurt Brian Menzel because Brian Menzel only gets money when they sell. So it's actually not to his benefit, right? Oh, she says the whole layaway is refunded? She just says she refunds the money. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. So then what's the point of doing layaway? Like, I'm not sure, like, what the point of doing layaway would be, right? I'm talking about a scenario where you put $10 to $100 layaway, so she refunds, then why don't you just do layaway forever? This hurts Brian either way.
Just depending on the person who was putting it on layaway. That was completely unique to this collection.
So, look, I'll be honest, I don't trust Josh Johnson, but something is weird here.
So a lot of these are, see, like, look at this. Like, so, like, it says POS final.
It doesn't matter whether or not she's charging money for layaway and keeping it. It hurts Brian because there's no benefit to Brian to put his sets on layaway. He's not getting paid for Brian. Brian is not getting paid for his Lego sets to be on layaway. Guys, if I had consignment and I'm only being paid when my set sells, I don't want to see these sets on layaway because it doesn't benefit me at all. In fact, it takes time away where it should be selling. So instead of, let's say Cloud City is on layaway, and probably is on layaway because it's really, really good. Cloud City is on layaway, and there's a real customer walks in, says, hey, do you have Cloud City? I have $10,000 cash right now. And she's like, oh, no, it's on layaway. That customer is not coming back to buy Cloud City after 30 days. So, again, there's concerns here because layaway in no way helps Brian Menzel sell his collection. No way. You cannot make the argument to me that layaway was a good idea for Brian Menzel. It was not. There's a guy in chat today who can sell the Cloud City like this for $10,000. It's just sitting in layaway.
final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
I mean, without seeing the actual sales ticket and seeing what else, like what items were sold together, what else was sold with it, I can't actually see the sales ticket. We had several layaway items in which customers were putting multiple things on layaway, paying for most of one item.
So CoffeeZilla has then found something even a little bit more disturbing, that there's a list for $5.99. There's a set for $5.99. It's marked as layaway, but it's already been paid. It's already been paid, right?
One item, and then, or they were buying.
Yeah, back up here. Like, this is very important for CoffeeZilla. That means the spreadsheet is not accurate at all. So let me repeat this again. There was at least one item for $5.99. That's a nice item that was paid for, but it's still marked layaway. That is very strange.
It matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So
he found it.
Layaway. So a lot of these, we had several of them. I think one of the Ewok villages, we put on layaway 4 different times, and then it came off of layaway and back on layaway and then off and then sold. So a lot of these would have gone on and off of layaway and then back out on the shelf, just depending on the person who was putting it on layaway. That was completely unique to this collection.
So look, I'll be honest, I don't trust Josh Johnson, but something is weird here.
So a lot of these are, look at this.
So this is the part that no one is going to go over because they love Crystal so much. But it is, like, I agree with CoffeeZilla. Like, they sold this thing. Why is it still on layaway? Why don't you clean up the sheet and, like, you know, and then give the money to Brian Min? You sold it. Look at CoffeeZilla.
Look at this. It says POS final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
I mean, without seeing the actual sales ticket and seeing what else, like what items were sold together, what else was sold with it, I can't actually see the sales ticket. We had several layaway items in which customers were putting multiple things on layaway, paying for most of one item, and then, or they were buying, 8 different things together, and then putting all of them on layaway and making payments on multiple items at the same time. Our Ewok village was one of those cases. At some point, he had, I think, 8 or 9 different items on layaway. So they'd come in and make a payment for a bulk payment. I've got 800 things on layaway. I'm going to make $100 on my payment. One customer in particular would do that, and then when he'd gotten up high enough to pay for one set, we'd pull that set out, mark it as sold. So without seeing the actual tickets and my layaway records.
But it wasn't marked as sold. It was still on the layaway document. So what she's saying should have happened, but it actually didn't happen. CoffeeZilla is literally showing a $5.99 Lego set that was paid for in full, and is still on layaway, right?
I cannot answer a question any clearer than that.
But I even found more than that in this POS data. I also found about $10,000 in sales that matched Brian's collection that were not marked as sold.
Okay, now we're chugging along, guys. We're chugging along
under this inventory spreadsheet.
Some of our things that were not found were explained by the POS system because they were found in the POS system as being sold. So
here's what is not going to lie to you, okay? Crystal and her husband, they may lie to you. They're people. Maybe they lie with malice. Maybe they don't lie with malice. Boba Fett with the $20, a good exercise to show that what Crystal's saying is accurate. 9488 sold 6 at full price, and 3 were labeled layaway. If you check the tickets, there was no items with partial price. Everything was paid in full. Okay, so Boba Fett, who's been in the Excel spreadsheets, the same ones CoffeeZilla is looking at right now, for 50 plus hours with call-in, with Ristic Siphon, says that yes, this is what was happening. So 9488 sold 6 at full price. 3 were labeled layaway. If you check the tickets, there was no item with partial price. Everything was paid in full. So why was it labeled layaway? Oh, isn't. Okay. A good exercise to show that what Crystal isn't saying is accurate. Yes. So again, things are labeled layaway when they're not actually layaway because they've been paid in full. So
like, they weren't marked on the spreadsheet, but they were marked as sold via the POS system. And this is about $10,000 worth.
Oh yeah, before I go on, Josh can lie, Brandon can lie, Matt can lie, even Reckless Ben can lie, right? Yeah, $2 typo, yeah. Yeah, we got Bubba Fat for the extra $2, right? On the typo. The one thing that cannot lie are these spreadsheets. The spreadsheets by Colin and Bubba Fett are published independently. They're currently on our Discord in our pin section right now. They worked 50 plus hours on it. I have no doubt they're accurate. They've been double checked with CoffeeZilla himself. CoffeeZilla himself, numbers don't lie. Everything can lie to you, but the point of sale system cannot lie because that's how you pay taxes. If your point of system lies, you're going to jail for tax fraud. Do you know this? Do you know why the point of system cannot lie, right? If the point of system lies, what you pay taxes on is based on your point of system. So if your point of system is messed up, you're going to jail.
Of Lego that basically were matched.
Huh. See, and I don't know. Take anything happening from, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to do math here. I don't know without being able to see all of the records. There's a possibility that the consignments were ended when I wasn't at work and I just didn't go through and pull them up. They didn't get put in the consignment ticket. I hadn't gone through that.
Yeah, no, Laughable Larry, this is my whole story. Yeah, this is correct. I don't think Crystal stole anything. I just think she's a bad store owner. Yes. I actually am going to blow your mind. I think they intentionally hire bad store owners. Like the one guy in Florida who like hates Disney's because he hates Disney because he thinks it's gay or something. Like the guy in Florida, right? I think they're hiring people like Crystal who are actually really bad at business, so they get into debt, so then they can charge interest. So I have made great, again, I'm the only one saying this. I think they're specifically trying to hire people who are bad at business. We've seen 2 of them already, Bricks and Minifig store owners, and they both are not good at business. In fact, one of them is so bad at business, and he hates Disney. Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars, that he doesn't allow any Disney figures in his store. Like, we literally seen one of them called The Last Relic. Better to be incompetent instead of negligent. Yes, it's better to be incompetent. I think this is the truth. That they go out there, they find people like Amanda. Right, before Crystal became a store owner, she was a manager. So it's kind of like they found Amanda. You know, Amanda has no people skills. She's going to fail. And they say, hey, Amanda, you've been doing a really good job managing this store. Do you want your own franchise? Amanda's like, oh, yeah, I do. You think Amanda with her people skill... Amanda is the manager that Reckless Ben is trying, got to sign the fake contract and all this stuff. She's not Amanda. I feel they're targeting these individuals. So Crystal herself sucks at accounting. I think we can agree on this. She sucks at inventory management. One of the 2 most important things to do. 2 of the most important things to do. Now, based on Last Relic was another person who owned a Bricks and Minifig. And Last Relic, his business plan was to ban all Disney products from his store because he thought it was gay. That was the guy's business plan. If you've ever owned a collectible store, you know, like Legos, Disney's kind of a big thing, you know? Disney will bring in the kids, and they'll bring in the families, and Disney Legos, Marvel Legos, Disney Legos, Star Wars Legos, right? No. I'm not saying, we're not getting an argument, Disney ruined Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. Disney ruined, no. I'm talking strictly business sense. The Last Relic had no business sense at all. He didn't go to business school. He never took a business course. Same with, happy Pride Month, by the way, right? Shout out to Last Relic. Like, these are individuals that I don't think should be running stores. If you cannot do your point of sale system, if you cannot do your accounting, if you cannot do your inventory, if you're saying that Disney is, that you don't like Disney, so you're going to ban all Disney product from your Lego store. How are you going to compete against Billy in Ohio? Right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there are people who love Lego who are business savvy. Like, Billy, he'll log in, like, at noon, and he'll explain. We can ask Billy any questions we want about his Lego store. No, it doesn't matter if you believe Disney sucks. Like, if he really believed Disney sucked it hurts your business. It hurts your business. It doesn't matter. Business is business. Business is business, guys.
Those consignments in a couple of months. I hadn't gone through the inventory in the back room in a couple of months. So it is entirely possible there were sales that were finished that I never clocked as being finished. I don't know that.
That is true. So the one thing I give Crystal so much credit for is she will face reality. She's going to face reality and say, you know what? This is on me, right? There could have been things that I should have done better. I should have clocked them as sales. They were not clocked as sales. That's on me. So, everyone's conclusion is the same. Crystal may not have been the best store owner, but she is honest and willing to work with you and willing to discuss points and be, like, open with the discussion, which is something that Alman McNeff is absolutely not willing to do.
That without going through and actually seeing it.
But you're saying it's possible stuff was sold, not updated on this inventory list.
It's entirely possible that stuff did not get updated on my spreadsheet. I'm not going to sit here and claim it's not possible. It's possible I missed.
Again, yes, this is it.
Things.
So where does this leave us? I know some people are jumping to conclusions here, but I must remind you that on the night of November 14th, 2024, Crystal Gorman was concerned about Brian getting paid or not getting paid.
He has not been paid his percentage yet. And if I don't have
I think this should wrap it up in a nice bow of like what actually happened. Crystal may be bad at managing, she didn't update the sales for Brian, but all this stuff happened, okay? But at the end of the day, when push came to shove, her only concern was making sure Brian would get paid. And I think that tells you, like, who she is. She's doing the best she can. Yes, exactly. So I think she's doing the best she can because when Brandon is like, hey, you gotta leave, literally the only things he cares about is getting Brian paid. Not about taking Legos with her. Not about, hey, I own that Lego. I own this Lego. Right? She's only concerned about printing receipts and figuring out how much Brian is owed so they can pay her. Everyone else, let me tell you this. I know a lot of store owners in Houston because I was a store owner. They were my competitors. They were my employees. They were my coworkers, whatever. The majority of people in Crystal's position where she knows she's going to get kicked out, they're going to try to grab as many Black Lotuses and Charizards as they can on the way out. She didn't grab nothing, not even the parakeet. She was more worried about helping I don't know how to describe it. She's more worried about Brian Menzel than she was about her parakeet. And that tells you a lot about her as a human being. So I never said she was a bad human being. People say I'm victim blaming, all this stuff like this. I'm saying that... No, because she didn't know at this time Reckless Ben would come in. So this footage and stuff would never ever make it like as far as it did. Yeah, she even left a bird. She was too busy trying to print out the receipts for Brian, right? So I would believe... Yes, a very famous magic card shop. I would believe that, like, had she been given enough time, she would have fixed the problem with Brian. That's what I believe, right? But she wasn't given any time. Brandon immediately came in one day and kicked her out that night. Right? Kicked her out that night. And she never got the chance to look at her records. She never got the chance to figure out how much we actually owe Brian. She never got the chance to make things right. Right?
Have my tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
Okay. So Crystal, ultimately, that's a business thing and not necessarily yours. Brandon will take, because taking on the business, he takes on all that kind of side.
So obviously, one could see that and say she was intending to reconcile with Brian. Maybe she hadn't gotten around to it. And of course, corporate will probably take a more cynical view of what...
Again, that's how I would look at it. She was going to reconcile with Brian, but she just didn't have the time to do it. And she was, she got lazy with her accounting, which happens. It does happen. She got lazy with her inventory. She got lazy marking things off. But had she been given, like, let's say an extra month, I think the transition would have been, I don't think there's even a problem here.
Of what she's doing by printing these receipts. But the point is, regardless of whose side you're on, I think we can all agree, there's a lot of weird stuff here on all sides. Abnormal stuff. Sure, maybe you can chalk some of this up to bad record keeping between the U-Haul, the layaways, the $20,000 in Lego sets.
So the layaways, to me, it's like Kmart. Kmart does layaways because it sucks. It's not making no money. Kmart is like on the verge of bankruptcy. When I was a kid, the only store that really did layaways was Kmart. And Kmart did layaways because they couldn't sell anything anyway. So the stores that do layaways are often struggling, right? To get customers to sell products. Because if your option is layaway or just selling the product for full price, you sell the product for full price, right? So again, like I'm saying is, stores that do a lot of layaway, I don't know if this is fact, but it sounds like the store was struggling, and that's why it was doing layaway, because those customers couldn't afford to buy things they wanted. Now, if a customer, right, could buy the thing straight up, they would probably sell it straight up. But it seemed like her customers didn't have the money, which then tells you that it's a struggling store. So stores that are doing really, really well are probably not doing a ton of layaway.
Sets that corporate called $2,000 to $5,000 that was there that night, the off-book deals. But even if we can't fully know 100%, what these weird things were about,
I really want these. I really want these things. I like the tiny little black boxes. I used to collect them. I gave them all to my nephew and niece when they became the age to do Legos. But yeah, I really like these little boxes. They stack really nicely for storage.
A story of what actually happened to Brian's collection. In a way, multiple people, I think, are kind of right, kind of wrong. The Gormans were correct that more of that collection was there that night of the takeover than previously thought. But corporate also alleged that some of it was also...
You can be the nicest guy ever. You can be the biggest Lego fan ever. It doesn't mean you can run a Lego store. Let me repeat this. I see this all the time in Pokemon. They grew up with Pokemon. They love Pokemon. Pokemon is their... They quit their job, start a Pokemon vending store or open a store. Every fucking day, a new Pokemon store opens in Houston. Every day, a new Pokemon store opens in Houston. And they think, you know what? Because I love it and Pokemon card loves me, right? It's going to work out. You could be the best human being in the world. Your business is still going to fail unless you know basic accounting, basic inventory management, and etc. There are so many Pokemon people who have opened Pokemon stores to fail, not because they were not good people, not because they were not friendly or nice to customers, because they were bad at business.
Was offsite, and that appears to be partly true, although some of that is disputed, and it looks like, way more of the collection was sold and layawayed than Brian was paid for. But all in all, there's a lot less missing than many people think, especially if your starting number is $200,000. I estimated, and I must emphasize, estimated with bad records, that there's only about $10,000 to $20,000 in Lego that isn't explained by...
Okay, so there's $10,000 to $20,000 missing in Lego.
...by one of these sources. This isn't to say Brian's been fully compensated. Much of this, Brian wasn't paid for that I know of. So I estimate he's still out about $50,000 to $83,000.
Yes, so Brian estimated $50,000 to $83,000, which is similar to the amount that we estimated, which was like $50,000 to $62,000. So we're all working off ranges because accounting is difficult and different accounting standards, how you value certain sets, minifigs, blah, 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 blah. But this is the same amount that the team of the Collins and Boba Fett came to as well.
$3,000 for Lego he wasn't compensated for. And I think, honestly, that's something that Bricks and Minifigs obviously should handle and make right.
Yes,
regardless of what a franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company
Correct.
behind it must stand behind.
For $50,000, or even like take the $80,000, right? Just pay it, man. Just fucking pay the money. Like, I don't understand, man. You have 300 stores. The final payment is $50,000 to $80,000. Let's call it $70,000, right? Let's call it $65,000, whatever it is. Just pay it. Just pay it, guys.
Their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite. Unfortunately, yes. Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events. But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea.
Yes, it is a horrible idea. Like, you're corporate. What is 50 to 80K to you? Right? Like, what is 50 to 80K to you? It's not a lot. I mean, supposedly they make what? They have 300 stores. They value themselves at 400 million. Like, dude, 50 to 80K is one franchisee paying you a fee. You think anyone is lining up to be a franchisee right now? No. In 1 month, could they have a single franchisee sign? Yeah, of course. 50 to 80K is... Okay, so I'm making a bold statement here. I don't believe Crystal stole anything, but had she stole everything, had Crystal stole 80K of product, which again, I don't believe, there's not evidence to show that, you still pay it, because you're corporate. You're corporate, right? How do you not have 80K to pay? And all of this goes away. All of it. Like 80K is 1 or 2 franchises signing up. They went from 100 in 2024 to like 300. I know, or it was like 2023 or something like that. It's when Josh was saying he wanted 25 to 50 of these things. Like, you're signing up what? So 100, like, 200 over 2 years. You're signing a franchisee every week. What you do is you pay the 80K. You say, hey, we don't know what happened to this Lego set, but we really value our consignment customers, including Brian Menzel. You pay the whole amount to him. You do some photo ops. You shake his hand. And there's your 80K in advertising right there. There's your 1% national fee, right?
As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million.
Yes, this is so bad. This is so bad. I don't know why they keep picking on him. Dude, you still is like, oh, $5. Thank you for the $5, laughable Larry. Oh, yeah, I wonder what's in Ben. According to Sheldon, Part 3 will part 3 is so explosive that like they'll just drop the lawsuit, right? And that's why they had to stop part 3. Like, so again, just take it from like Brian Menzel and his dad perspective. They got F'd this whole way around, guys. They went to Bricks and Minifigs. They did consignment for 60%, which is terrible. There is a guy in chat called Billy who says he does consignment at 70 to 80%. Let me repeat this again. Not consignment. He just straight up buys your Legos at 70 to 80%. So, one, he's getting a very bad rate for his Legos. He could have gone to the Whatnot streamer here. I think B&R Productions. B&R Productions says he could have sold it for 2 days. So, A, the Legos are just sitting there for years now. He's only getting 65%, 60 to 65%, which is much lower than the payout that Billy would have offered. And Billy is not a huge person. He's an independently run Lego reseller. And M&R is saying, hey, I could move this thing. I can move all these Legos in 2 days. And I'm sure, based on what M&R paid, he paid what? $12,600 on a, according to him, he said $18,000 was reasonable. He paid 70% cash. Holy moly, guys. Did you guys realize how, like, savage, like, this deal was? So, M&R, so this is for duplicate sets. M&R Production said he wasn't cherry picking. These are all the duplicate sets and storage and so on. He paid $12,600 cash. Cash money, which is 70%. And that's no consignment. And he was able to sell it on Whatnot in like 2 hours. So those are some, and these are the duplicates. This isn't the cherry pick. This isn't the Cloud City. This isn't the stuff that like actually, like, these are the duplicates from Brian's own store. So like, I'm getting very frustrated because Brian from the very get-go got ripped off. 65% is not, no one we talked to said 65% is worth it. In fact, M&R just came in here and gave 70% cash to Brian, right? That's more than the 65% consignment, but the big difference here, you get all the money up front. And M&R says, I can sell it to you, I can sell the whole 107 in 2 days. Oh, so he did get a Cloud City. Okay, he got one of the 2 Cloud Cities that wasn't on layaway. So he was able to sell a Cloud City. Well, you know who could sell a Cloud City? Somebody who has already sold a Cloud City, right? So like, it would have been an easy sell for him, and he would have paid 70% that day, which is still higher than the initial consignment. And this thing drives me crazy. You guys have seen the numbers from Bill. 70% is the consignment rate for Legos. Billy said it, and M&R Production said it. Billy currently buys Lego figures at 70 to 80% cash, no consignment. M&R Production bought a shit ton, and I don't think these are the best Lego figures because they're duplicates, right? He paid 70% cash. Don't worry about consignment. Take the cash. Cash has interest. Cash you could put in stocks, bonds, other Lego sets. From the very get-go, it was a very bad deal. I have that much cash, Vince, and I will float you at 70%. Vince, let me ask you this. If you have Lego sets and you have 107, I cash you out today. You come visit me in Houston with your Lego sets. We confirm that they're 107, and I cash you out today at 70%. Because I have no doubt I can sell them. You know what? Yeah, I could do just what M&R Production does. Or shit, I could just sell it to M&R Production for like 72.5%, wipe my hands off it, make 2.5%. So, like, guys, like, what are you talking about? M&R Production just came in chat and said he would do it. M&R Production just came in chat and said he could sell it all, and he would sell it all in 2 days.
A legal campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates. Remember, Brian is the same guy who lost all these Legos
yes.
at Bricks and Minifigs store. And I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this. Look, mistakes have been made by plenty of people here, but there's a lot more people who have influenced.
I always, at any given time, have 200K in cash in case I want to buy something. 4 years ago, I bought a BGS 10 Charizard, first edition, for 100K in cash. I buy Black Lotuses, I buy Pokemon cards and so on. I go to conventions. Let me put it this way. I've never gone to a CollectorCon convention which sells Pokemon cards and stuff, or a MagicCon. I missed MagicCon Vegas this year, but whatever. I have a kid. With less than 100K cash. And that's not what's in my PayPal. That's not what, again. Like, you know how much that one single Poncho Pikachu costs today? It's like $15,000 to $25,000 for one card. One card. That's the cash you need. Dude, like, look at this dude. This guy went to Houston. I met this guy, RJ Collectibles. This is all real. This dude spent $1 million in like 2 hours. That's how Pokemon is right now. People think like, oh, you don't have the cash. No, I have the cash right now. You want it? Come get it. If I can sell 70, I can flip at 72 to Arn, and then he can sell it for whatever. This dude is like, look, I'm not joking. This is one convention. He spent almost $1 million. Another convention, he spent $713,000. Then he spent only 100K. Then look at this. You don't take the cash out until you go to the city, and then you go to the Chase, and they give you a little blue envelope. And then if you don't want the cash, then you put it back to the Chase. So at no point in time or do you actually physically have the cash, right? But this dude, this guy is 22 years old. And this is real, right? This guy's 22 years old. And in the span of like one convention, I think like 2 days, he spent almost $1 million buying Pokemon cards. That's just how it rolls, man. I mean, a Pikachu card is 25K right now. Like, I hate to tell you guys this, but collectibles are expensive. If I wanted one of these Pikachu cards, it's about 20K. This one is about 29K. It probably went up. 26K for one card. Like, I don't know what anyone's saying. They're saying, like, I can't buy 107. I have guns. So Alex, good thing. We have guns. A shit ton of guns. And I've always wanted to know, like, the stand your ground. Again, it's like a morbid curiosity of me, right? I've actually never used my guns to, like hunting. I don't go hunting or any of that stuff. So all I can say is, like, right next to my Pikachus, I am and everyone else in Texas is armed to the teeth. In fact, my wife and I, before we had a baby, we used to go to a shooting range like every Saturday. We have a huge convention, thing and all this stuff. Like, yeah, we have stand your ground. No, stand your ground's really, we have castle law. Like, God forbid I catch you stealing my Poncho Pikachu. Right? That's all I will say. Is I really wanted to the castle law has always been very interesting to me from a legal perspective, I'll say. I don't know if I want to show you this gun, because I don't know. Can I show guns? Or no? I have, like, I have a gun that you have never, like, it's just like Poncho Pikachus are collectible. Guns can be collectible too. So, I'll put it that way for you. I like collecting guns.
Inflicted self-owns, the likes of which we've rarely seen, by just choosing the worst possible path at every fork in the road. No pun intended. But the best path to making things right, in my view, is by just making Brian whole and moving on. Drop the aggressive legal strategy. You are a Lego store at the end of the day. You are supposed to be about fun, not about a rerun of Suits. But anyways, that's my investigation. Those are my closing thoughts. And I knew I wanted to approach everyone involved in this whole story with my results and see what they thought to close things out.
Does all that make sense to you? Because I'm showing everyone in this story and saying, hey,
The thing
are
that
any of
does
these
make
numbers blowing your mind, or is any of this...
Okay, so my daughter is crying in the background. We'll finish up. Yes, I'm not going to show my gun because I've heard that it's a bad decision to do that. I kind of want to show it anyway. Can I show, like, a picture of it? Just not, like, it physically? Or, like... Okay, anyway, whatever, right? I think we did what we needed to do. I need to take care of my daughter now. And, yeah, thank you guys. I think we had a good time tonight. We will see you guys, tomorrow. We have, like, multiple safes. It's multiple safes, and even for me, it takes, like, 2 to 5 minutes. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to open for, like, a grown adult to, like, figure out, like, you know, like, oh. So, we'll watch the rest tomorrow. We'll see you in Discord. And, have a good night, guys. Really appreciate you guys joining me so late. This is all the other shit I had to do tonight, hopefully. For you guys. Anyway. Alright, guys. Bye, guys.